What about Kell Brook?
Kell Brook?
He said 157 he'll fight you.
I think he's too small.
Too small?
Too small, yeah. My focus on 160 in middle division right now. Kell Brook or everybody just trash talk,
You'll never really know how good he is at this division. He's going to have to just move up instead of just waiting for these other guys to move up.
Yeah.
I think he needs to move up, and fight Andre Ward or Kovalev and guys in that division, Stevenson, whoever. But he needs to move up.
If Andre Ward is willing to meet you guys in the middle, you guys are willing to take that fight.
If Andre Ward gets his issues resolved with management and promoters, Tom Loeffler's phone, they have his phone number. Of course we would be willing to make. That is a fight that that the public would want to see, first of all, and that Gennady would like to have happen.
But would you say that Andre, like we were saying earlier, is high risk, low reward, or?
No, I think Andre's an easy fight for Golovkin.
You think he's an easy fight?
Absolutely. I think that they mesh well with styles. I think that, I shouldn't say easy fight, I think it's a good fight for Golovkin. I think that Golovkin is, as he grows in popularity, he's going to have to move up. He's going to have to move up. It may end up at 175. And I've had 175 pounders, as I explained to you before, and they're easy for him in the gym.
Yeah.
There's cruiserweights in the champion cruiserweights, I won't mention any names, but that have been easy for him in the gym.
Really?
So I have no problems or issues about the weight.
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? When it comes to the sport of boxing, you don't often hear professional boxers and trainers and promoters, etc., criticize well-known fighters. It happens, but it doesn't happen that often. But when it comes to Gennady Golovkin, I cannot recall the last time I have seen this many people from all walks of life, from commentators like myself to boxers like Carl Froch and trainers like Teddy Atlas, promoters like Bob Arum, former champions like Paulie Ayala, fighters around Gennady Golovkin's zip code from the former Soviet Union like Ruslan Provodnikov, and many more are all congruent when it comes to the criticism of Gennady Golovkin stepping up in competition or stepping up to a higher weight class. Now I want you guys to think about this as well. When it comes to professional boxers, trainers, promoters, etc., do you guys notice none of these guys are criticizing fighters like Lomachenko, Andre Ward, Keith Thurman, Sergey Kovalev, Terrence Crawford? No one is criticizing these guys for stepping up in competition. So we know it's not personal. And you can't play the race card and say that's just those black bastards that don't like Gennady Golovkin, because these are not even black people saying these things about Gennady Golovkin. At least not the names that I mentioned in this video. The point that I'm making is there are people of all different races, nationalities, and colors that are criticizing Gennady Golovkin. So today, Carl Froch, he basically interjected himself into the conversation, and he started to once again criticize Gennady Golovkin, basically saying the same things. If no one is going to fight him at middleweight, he needs to move up in weight. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and quote exactly what Froch had to say. Quote, he should pick on someone his own size. If he can't get fights at middle, why doesn't he move up? He gave Canelo stick for fighting Khan, who was smaller. I genuinely think that Brook will give him far more trouble than anyone has done before, and more than anyone has given him credit for. Look at Golovkin's resume, there's no one on there in terms of talent. Brook will be the best fighter he's fought. Golovkin's dangerous, a big puncher, and he knocked out Butte in the amateurs so he can fight. But don't be surprised if Brook gives him a really hard fight and goes the distance. End quote. I'm going to tell you guys right now, if this fight goes the distance, it will most likely be an upset. I truly believe that. Especially, like I keep telling you guys, if we get to around the 4th to the 6th round and Kell Brook has not been staggered, he's not been knocked down, oh yeah, this may actually turn out to be a real fight. So let me go ahead and touch on some of the things that Carl Froch had to say. Once again, the difference from me and the many decafs in the boxing community, from other members of the media all the way down to fans online, the difference is the majority of things you guys hear me say, professional boxers and trainers that do this for a living, they corroborate it. That is the difference. So there's no such thing as my side versus your side. There's the truth, and then there's everything else. Once again, why aren't these same fighters and trainers and everyone else, why aren't they criticizing a ton of other fighters the way they're criticizing Golovkin right now? Because Gennady Golovkin is 34 years old, and as Carl Froch just put it, and just like I told you guys when this fight was first announced, Gennady Golovkin's best opponent on his resume is a welterweight. And if Golovkin goes in there and he blows this welterweight out the water, we know that Kell Brook is going to move back down to welterweight, or he's going to move down to junior middleweight. Now, to give you guys a little bit of contrast, when Floyd Mayweather fought against Juan Manuel Marquez, for the fans that suggested that Marquez was too small for Floyd Mayweather, despite Floyd Mayweather coming off a 2-year layoff and Marquez was considered pound for pound number 3, the best fighter in the world. You know the difference from Mayweather Marquez versus Canelo Khan and Golovkin versus Brook. Well, when it comes to Mayweather Marquez, after he was dominated by Floyd Mayweather, Marquez actually stayed at the welterweight division, and then he ended up knocking out Manny Pacquiao. Now, this is so ironic because after Floyd Mayweather dominated Juan Manuel Marquez, Manny Pacquiao ended up fighting Marquez 2 more times after that at the same weight class, at the welterweight division. In the 3rd fight, I remember it. I wish I had the clip, but I remember Manny Pacquiao, him saying in the dressing room, the reason why he's going to win this fight, because he's naturally the bigger fighter. This is what Manny Pacquiao said. I'm going to win this fight because I'm naturally bigger. I've been facing much bigger guys than Marquez. And Marquez, he comes in there, and in the 3rd fight, they give it to Manny Pacquiao, but most people thought that Marquez won. Now keep in mind, this was right after Floyd Mayweather completely dominated Marquez. Then in the 4th fight, Manny Pacquiao gets knocked out by Marquez. So the point that I'm making is, if you look at the contrast, let's start with Canelo versus Khan. When Khan got knocked out, he said he was going back down to the welterweight division. Once again, if Kell Brook gets knocked out by Golovkin, you guys think he's going to stay at the middleweight division? Of course not. He's going to move down to a lower weight class, right? So that is the difference. On top of me saying all of that, Juan Manuel Marquez, after beating Manny Pacquiao and staying at the welterweight division, when he was asked if he wanted to avenge that loss to Floyd Mayweather, he said there's no reason to fight Mayweather again because we already know what happened in 2009. That's what Marquez said. So even by Marquez's own admission, he doesn't attribute his loss to a size disparity. Khan versus Canelo is the perfect example of a fighter losing because his opponent was much bigger than him. Why do I say that? Because in the Khan versus Canelo fight, and this is so funny, man, because I've said this so many times, way before we got the Canelo versus Khan fight, and when people used to talk about the Mayweather versus Marquez fight, I would always say to them, usually when a smaller guy is in the ring with a bigger guy, the smaller guy, he has a little bit of an advantage with speed. He may be the better boxer, so he can at least win rounds. But the problem is when he gets hit, it's probably over with. Because just like I always say, going back to my Street Fighter reference, when you're a much smaller guy fighting a guy 2 weight classes or 1 weight class higher than you, you start the fight with a handicap. You have a health bar and you probably only have 25% of your health, where your opponent, he starts off with a full health bar, right? So therefore, you could be outboxing him, you could be winning rounds, but as soon as you get hit, it's over with, because the handicap was just too much to overcome. And this is what we seen in the Canelo versus Khan fight. Khan was clearly the better fighter than Canelo Alvarez. In fact, in almost every interview I did before that fight, when I asked trainers and boxers, who would you say, if they were the exact same size, who would you say was the better fighter? They all picked Amir Khan over Canelo Alvarez. And on top of all of that, Amir Khan said Canelo Alvarez was actually 183 pounds the night of the fight. Now, speaking of weight, we just got a big surprise the other week by finding out that Kell Brook, he outweighed Golovkin by 11 pounds in the 30-day weigh-in. Gennady Golovkin was 165, and I believe Kell Brook was 76? So a lot of fans are still trying to figure out what it means. Some fans believe that this means Kell Brook, he's going to come in there with some either middleweight or junior middleweight power and surprise Gennady Golovkin with his strength. Other people believe that it's a bad idea for him to come in damn near heavier than Gennady Golovkin. It'll probably slow him down, and he would have been better off coming in lighter to keep his speed, etc., etc. So we really don't know. But I'll close with saying this. I told you guys a while ago that eventually the walls will start to close in on Gennady Golovkin. And when I say the walls, I'm talking about the pressure walls. I told you guys a long time ago that eventually it's going to get to the point, no matter how popular Gennady Golovkin is, even fans that like him, they are going to say, okay, Golovkin, you know, when you first did that magic trick, it was really, really impressive. But now you keep showing me the same magic trick. It's time to see a new magic trick. And obviously what that analogy means is you can only fool the public for so long until even Golovkin's biggest supporters will start to say, hey man, you're 34 years old, the best fighter on your resume is a welterweight. I want to see how good you really are. You know, we've heard Teddy Atlas say how much he likes Gennady Golovkin, but he just wants to see how he deals with adversity. How would Golovkin do in a Thurman Porter type of war, right? Where it's a 50-50 fight. Both fighters have similar speed, boxing pedigree, power, etc., etc. Fans are going to start asking Gennady Golovkin, when is he going to put himself in a position where we can really see what he's made of? We know right now that he's one of the strongest punchers in the sport of boxing. We know right now that he's considered the best middleweight in the world. But once again, now it's gotten to the point to where fans want to see how he deals with a guy on his exact level. And this is the reason why you have so many professional boxers and trainers that are criticizing Gennady Golovkin. So, you know, if Golovkin gets past this Kell Brook test, which a lot of people believe that he will, for the sake of Gennady Golovkin's reputation, if he's not going to fight against an Edislani Lara next, if Danny Jacobs is not going to get in the ring and fight Golovkin next, Golovkin is going to have to move up in weight. I totally agree with Carl Froch. He's going to have to move up in weight and fight either a James DeGale, a Gilberto Ramirez, and show us his adversity. Even Golovkin's own stablemate, Roman Gonzalez, is taking far more risk than Gennady Golovkin. When you look at the stark contrast, it's crazy as hell when you really think about it. While Golovkin is facing Kell Brook, Roman Gonzalez is actually moving up in weight to face off against an undefeated Mexican WBC champion. So that's what we want to see with Golovkin. And quite frankly, I would pick Golovkin to beat a lot of these super middleweights. But just because I'm picking him to win, we still have to see the fights, right? A lot of us believed that Mayweather would beat Pacquiao, but we still had to see it. A lot of us believe right now that Ward is going to beat Kovalev, but we still want to see it. Okay? So with that all being said, that's pretty much all I got on this one. I'm on to the next one.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Damn.